Recording in progress.
Did that do it? Nope. Hi, Kenny.
You're muted, Kenny.
There we go.
There we
Hello.
go. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
There.
I think Anson said she's coming on here too, because
Yeah, she said something about her dog.
thunderstorms.
Yeah, thunderstorms. So,
She's stressed out.
there's Kendra.
Alrighty. Want me to go ahead and
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday, June 7th, 2023 Ridgway Sustainability Advisory Board meeting. We are now in session. Deb, would you do a roll call, please?
Sure. Vicky,
Here.
Dave, Ken,
Here,
JT,
Here.
Dana.
If I have to go on in a meeting, I'll call you then. Okay.
Stay here.
Here.
Okay, Joyce is absent at the moment, and Angela is expected to join us via Zoom probably about 5:30. She's got another meeting going on, so I'll try to keep an eye out for her. Okay,
We've had some emails back and forth.
Who's that handsome man on me?
Okay.
Kenny.
Right.
Big bug.
Alrighty, you guys.
hi. Kendra,
Hello.
hi.
Hi, I'm here representing Eco Action Partners. She won't be able to join us this evening. She's still in transit, so it's just me.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, we're having a difficult time hearing you.
I might join on my phone in a second because my audio has issues, so I'll do that in a second.
Okay, great.
She's traditionally had some issues.
Has she? Yeah, okay, great. Okay, so do you want to go ahead, JT, and get us rocking and rolling here with item number 1?
Yes, you guys, we actually with Kendra and Emma went through the cap not long ago. Or maybe it was about a month ago or so, or 6 weeks, maybe at this point.
Yeah.
And I think all of you that received it, you have a chance to at least get your eyeballs on it and see how it's set up, the different categories. And then really, I think our goal today is to go through each of these different color coordinated sections and see if there's anything that we want to additionally add into the updates on the right side of the screen. And I think that's really the upshot
Mhm.
where we're,
Yeah.
what our goal was for today. And then that. Bottom right.
Oh, bottom right. Oh, there she is. Okay, thank you for that.
Shannon. Wait for her to come up.
Kendra, are you in?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, now we can hear you. Okay,
Sweet, awesome. Great.
so we're just getting started. JT was just kind of going over what our plan is for this first section here.
Awesome, sounds great.
Yeah.
I'll have my computer up and I'll be here on the phone too.
Okay,
Gotcha. And Kendra, I just let these guys know that we're gonna go through basically section by section and see if there's anything additional that these eyeballs have seen and want to add to it, subsequent to our last meeting where we did the updates. I also wanted to point out, in case people didn't realize it, but on the bottom of the information tracking, there's also all of the other communities there as well. And that was a great reference to peruse on your own time to see how other towns are tackling stuff as well, and counties. So can I hand it to you, Kendra, and you can fill us in on how you're gonna facilitate us?
Sounds good. Yeah, thank you everybody for being here and taking time out of your evening to review this document. This is a really helpful tool for us at Eco Action Partners to really see the key strengths and opportunities for the different jurisdictions in our area. Everyone is really unique, and so it's really helpful for us to be able to go kind of item by item using this tracking document to just see what areas need our attention, where areas certain jurisdictions might have successes that we can share with the rest of the member jurisdictions of the Snuffles Energy Board. And so it's been really helpful for us to have that opportunity. So starting off, the first kind of item here is the adoption of the Regional Climate Action Plan. And we asked the different jurisdictions to consider adopting that so that we can kind of all be on the same page. And then from there, we kind of go into the next section, which is the community engagement and policy section. And that talks about increasing community engagement and continuing to prioritize collaborative and intersectional decision-making and action implementation. I don't know if you all can see this sheet, but if you want to take a couple moments to read over the action items there, and then just if there's anything that you want to add in the update section in column I, then we can definitely do that as well.
So this blue section is what is on the actual cap as
Correct.
far as the community engagement and policy. So really where we start is the energy supply, correct? As far as going through and making updates.
Okay, sounds good.
Is that,
Excuse
Yeah.
me, I don't have the document that you're looking at.
can you see it?
No,
Kenny, it came through an email. I'm gonna send it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna send it to you right now again, just so you have it quickly.
It was on the last notice about this meeting. It was attached.
Hey, Kendra, one thing to update.
Yeah.
Minor. Ridgway has no E in it. In the spelling. So there's a few places in the document.
Throughout
where
it.
Ridgway has it.
Yeah, I corrected a couple of them, but
Minor.
Sounds good. I'll make a note to go through and change those after this meeting.
hi, Terry.
Stand by, Kenny. I'll get this to you when my email pops up as well. Okay, while I send this to Kenny, why don't?
Yeah. Okay, so I think the way we started in the work session on this is we just all took a few minutes to read what's under the energy supply and just read what is under column B and just kind of see where the status is and many comments or suggestions on this is what we did on this on the workshop. So if you want to take a few minutes, if you've already looked at this and have notes, great. Not
Kendra, one thing that I would add in here in the energy area, and I'm not sure exactly which category to put it in, is the fact, and it probably could be updated for all the different towns based upon the planning grant that Terry Schuyler just recently was able to. I don't know if that's already come on your radar.
Yeah, super exciting.
From Dolan. So yeah, so over Ridgway, Silverton, and
Yeah, I think that could, as a PA, I think that could fall under number 1 and number 3. I was thinking the same thing, JT, that that grant is to advance regional grid flexibility.
Is it a SMPA grant?
resiliency.
Is it an SMPA, is it a grant to SMPA, or is it a private grant that you did, you know?
I think it's granted, that's, yeah.
That would fit right in. with the
Right.
SMPA.
Yeah, so Kendra, you're aware of that, right?
Yes, yep.
So I think on 1 and 3, you can list Terry's grant as our spring update. Terry, you have any comments on?
I'm not sure. I'm sorry, I joined late. I'm not sure what you're looking at or discussing.
Oh, sorry, Terry, we're looking at the CAP action implementation tracker
Oh.
along with Kendra today, and we're going through and updating it. And I suggested not just for Ridgway, but for Ophir, Rico, and
Apparently this is not sharing.
all the resiliency planning grants that you got to plug those in there. So we
Yeah,
can see
sure.
that as a track.
As part of those bulleted appendix, is that what you're looking at? For
Yeah.
the town specific measures or whatever? Yeah. Yeah, just to be clear, there was 4 planning grants that were awarded. 3 of them were for Rico, Ophir, and Ridgway. We wrote a separate grant for Silverton through a different program. It's not a state grant, it's a federal grant, and we haven't heard back on that one yet.
Oh, okay.
And Silverton's not in the cap currently. Actually, part of that grant is to bring them into the cap. So they'll be funding the first $100,000 if we win that grant. That's an ERA prize. It's not actually a grant. There's no matching required. So some percentage, I think 25,000 of that would be used to facilitate Silverton joining the Sneffels Energy Board and becoming a participant in the climate action plan.
Got it.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's all good update. I was gonna update everybody here in case not everybody heard, but yeah, let's focus just in on Ridgway. If there's anything else through the energy supply category that we might want to add anything to. Does anybody in the room see anything that they might want to comment on or notate for the timeline?
I had a question, for ES4, for install renewable energy capacity on government buildings. Is that specific for actually energy storage, like battery? Because the comment on spring 23 update is about integrating a solar array. And that's like providing solar energy to the grid, but that's not necessarily capacity, right? Or am I just misunderstanding what we mean by capacity?
They're one and the same. They're one and the same.
Okay.
Yeah. The one that's not on here that will likely, I'm going to be writing a grant for, hopefully starting in July, is the Space to Create microgrid, which would probably be a 3.5 kilowatt system with a battery backup.
Okay.
TBD.
On the roof?
On the roof of the space building. Yeah.
Great.
Isn't that on here?
It's on here.
It
already.
is on here.
it?
It's on, yeah, it's on ES7.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I'm gonna scroll down a little bit and
Yep,
get
I
to
see
the
it.
rest.
I see it. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
And
so there we go.
just to be clear, Deb, from your radar in town, are there any other things that we've overlooked or ongoing projects?
Not at the moment, not at the moment. This is pretty much updated right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't think of anything that's going on right now.
Kendra, do you have any other questions for us regarding energy supply?
I don't at the moment. I feel good moving on.
Was Totally
Okay.
Green for the town listed in there already? I didn't see it. The fact
Yeah,
that,
it was.
Yeah, there's,
oh,
it's
there
somewhere
it
in
is.
here.
ES6.
Yeah,
ES6.
it's in here.
Yep, okay, I see it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a biggie.
It's hard to agree.
Awesome.
Kendra, I was just in
Alrighty.
your neck of the woods today. I was in Telluride all day.
Were you? It hailed on us today.
I got out of there in time for that.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Sweet. Well, let's hop into the building energy section. So this is the largest section of the climate action plan. I believe there are 7 objectives here, and they each have 3 to 5 actions underneath them. So let's go through this section objective by objective, and we can discuss any challenges or successes that have happened or are happening with each of them. So the first objective is beneficial electrification of buildings. I'll give you all a moment to look over the actions associated with that, but are there any specific challenges or opportunities for this area for Ridgway?
Joyce, anything related to the updates with the water system? That
No, I mean,
segment this?
yeah, I don't think that I mean, that I know of, I don't know of any town like specific updates for the water.
So I guess, Andrew, a couple
Wait.
of things. One, on the continue to improve building efficiency codes for new construction. You know, we are going to be visiting the new code update and also the electric ready code. We hope to review that next meeting here and.
Yes, we do have that on the agenda for the next meeting.
And then we'll make a recommendation to the town to take a look at that. The second thing that was proposed out of our Clean Energy Committee meeting, but it kind of jives with this group as well, is to do an inventory of Ridgway current mechanical equipment and other things that use gas, so that based on that inventory, we could use that and maybe the age of some of that equipment to look at either replacement or maybe grants down the road. So that's something that I have broached with both John and Preston, and they support that.
Is the inventory for the Ridgway government?
Yeah, the town
The
buildings.
town.
Town building.
That's awesome.
Who knows what it's still, you know, and
Right,
how old it is.
that's a good way to start it.
Yeah, yeah, you know, so
It would be a good example for the rest of town.
I think, you know,
Yeah.
And not just town, because but government buildings everywhere, because I can't remember statistics, but isn't it right that the federal and state buildings, when you add them up collectively,
Mhm.
are the lion's share of that?
One of the highest energy use consumption in
Yeah.
communities. Mhm.
yeah, and then, you know, setting an example, I mean, the town has done a great job setting an example, going totally green. But I think we could set an example looking at, you know, our footprint otherwise, and how can we modify that?
Yeah, town can guinea pig those.
First thing to do is
climate
know where we are.
How good they were.
And I'm actually going to write a letter for Preston's signature that will allow me to get information from Eco Action Partners, because, you know, they have all the town information. But they
Right.
can't release it without
Approval.
But I
Mhm.
don't foresee a problem, and I think our group should be able to have access to that information.
So we're still in the building energy section here, going down from B1 to, we've got a lot of them in here. Is there anything anybody else wants to note, starting from the top and working our way down here?
Well, it's like the old cap. It's like not, the words are not powerful, you know, it's encourage, support instead of require. That's been my beef all along, that the word require needs to be in there, and eventually it will be
Mhm.
with the code. So to me, it's just fluff and dander. I mean, it's great what's written there, but it's not, somebody's not gonna do one of these electrical upgrades if it's more expensive, you know. They're gonna need to be required to do it.
I think-
Dana, I think the problem is that, sure, there's a lot of really old equipment, and nobody's going to, like you just said, voluntarily spend a bunch of money upgrading their electrical equipment, and to require something like that would be probably really difficult, and there might be war in camp.
I'm not talking about already existing, I'm talking
Well,
about.
that's what the encourage language.
Right.
is associated with is existing.
Not all of it on there.
And this is, just to be clear, this is a tool. This is the tracking
I know,
tool.
it's the dual.
And in terms of
Beginning
the
of this
conversation
one.
on the energy code stuff going forward, you know, and that, I think to be clear, I think we talked about that a lot, but it's also gonna be based upon what we advise the town to do. So that will
Right.
be the intersection where the language will become most pertinent,
Right.
so.
Right, and I do think if we're updating the code kind of to the new energy code, like for objective 2, that pretty much will take care of the sub ones like BE 4, 5, and 6. It pretty much checks all of those boxes.
Hey, Dale, Andrew just
If,
texted.
if I could comment on the cost, even as it relates to a requirement.
Not showing up.
We're listening, Terry.
One of the elements of the grant that we wrote for Silverton recently is an initiative called the BE Initiative, whereby we would do an inventory of all of the fossil fuel based heating systems in town, which is their primary energy use, especially during the winter, and then come up with effectively a buyer's cooperative by tapping all of the federal and state grants to buy down the cost of these upgrades and come up with a process to enable the community to make that transition. So whereas the idea of nobody wants to, pay more money to upgrade their appliances, the fact is the operating cost of these appliances is much less. So they have a payback. And if you add to that grant money to help bring down the capital cost, it becomes a win-win very quickly, which helps grease the skids for a requirement.
That's a really
So
good point,
Terry,
Terry. Go ahead.
So that's the focus on that is with Silverton. So is there some way we could articulate in here for Ridgway as per Dave's inventory? That's a area of interest and focus?
Yes, I think so. I think that what you could craft here is an initiative to do something similar. Is coming up with a Ridgway community-wide BE initiative whereby we get some planning grant money to look at figuring out where the sources of federal and state funding are for air source heat pumps and EV chargers and EVs and so forth, cooktop stoves, to come up with the ways of buying down the capital costs so that the sting of a remodel requirement or new building construction requirement is mitigated because there's so much available money to pay for it that by, let's say you're able to buy down 50%, just to use a number, of the cost of these new appliances. If the operating efficiency of these are so much higher, the payback, the return on investment becomes 1-2 years, something like that. So, it's spending some money up front, but it's got a 25-30 year payback where you're saving a lot of money in the long term. So my suggestion would be that this community, like we tried to do for Silverton, or help them to come up with an initiative to find some planning grant money to create this beneficial electrification transition initiative, come up with a program, if you will.
So under BE 10, would that be a place, Kendra, where we could plug in just a little bit of language there to indicate that that's on our radar?
Yeah, I'm putting it there. I'm also putting it in BE3 as well. And I think it's okay to have action items fall into 2 different, categories in that sense. Because I think it applies to both spots. And
I just accept her. I can't get her in. All right, you're on it, huh? Yeah.
Great.
And Kendra, this concept is one that's replicable for all the other communities in the CAP, coming up with a community-wide beneficial electrification initiative, whereby you come up with a program to identify funding sources to help pay for this transition.
Yeah. I'm gonna make a note of that in my sheet.
Angela, are you here?
Yeah, finally I'm in, thanks.
Okay.
Woo!
Yeah,
Well,
I was, I think you have to see me to let me in. I don't appear on the screen unless you see me and admit me in, but here I am.
While Kendra's getting her sheet together.
Good one.
I'm only quiet here because I'm scrolling through the many VEs that there are.
There's a lot. There's a lot. Take your time.
Well,
Do we feel comfortable finishing up objective 3, increasing natural gas efficiency, or are there questions or thoughts up there? Or should we keep moving down?
What is that?
Where is that?
That's objective 3, row 36. We might have gone past it already, and if so, that's fine.
Increase natural gas efficiency on objective 3 under BE 9.
Dave, do you want a clarification on what that's supposed to mean, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, what is that increasing, is that tuning up your pilot line?
It's all the objectives under, it's BE 10 through
10 through 12, I believe.
10 through 12.
Is
So
that
it's not a-
for, is
So
that,
the objective is the header, and then below it are the actions that kind of make up at what achieving that objective would be. Does that make sense? So it starts with objective 3, and then below it are the actions 10 through
10,
12
11, and 12.
that apply to it. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might reword the objective to say natural gas efficiency and replacement, because 2 of the 3 focus on replacement of natural gas with, electrification. I would think. I mean, we don't want people to replace old gas with new gas.
I've got a question. I don't know if you can see my hand or not.
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah.
What am I
Is
doing here? I'm not able to see Angela's hand. I'm not
Is
able
that-
to see anything.
It's showing up on that screen.
Can you hear me?
It did come up.
No, it's
So you
breaking up.
raise it and then you put it down.
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah.
That we
I can
can.
hear you.
Trying to get it.
Okay, I heard other people talking. Is not increasing natural gas efficiency, that is in respect to existing facilities, not new building, right?
Correct. So if a building already has natural gas, and the people who are in charge of that building aren't intending to switch over to electric, Black Hills Energy has several rebates as well to increase the efficiency of natural gas appliances and things like that. So
Great. It might be better to state increase natural gas efficiency to existing buildings, because right there, the way it's termed, it looks to me like you could install natural gas in a new building.
okay.
Good
I'll
note.
make them do that.
Thank you.
Yep.
I also like Dave's note of saying natural gas efficiency or replacement, because BE 12 is essentially a replacement. If you're looking at alternatives.
Mhm. Sweet. Should we move on to objective 4?
Yeah, although I had something up above on one of those, but we kind of scrolled on over it, which was facilitate education for contractors, architects, and property managers.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things that we're doing on our webpage have that in mind. So, we have a sustainability advisory board webpage now, which has a section for contractors and architects, and we'll continue to expand that.
That's awesome. I remember that being mentioned and kind of in the works when we had our last meeting with Ridgway folks. So that's awesome that is now physical and real. So that's awesome.
Maybe in your Ridgway level of activity, we can write SAB website.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing I would add in there too, under that same category, is town just had a developer focused educational meeting to update them on the change of the Colorado codes, energy codes. So just noting that we have developer-focused education.
Awesome. Sweet.
So the education is for
Local developers, contractors,
and they came.
Mhm.
yeah, and the video is available as well.
Okay.
All righty, so we're scrolling up and down. Do we need
We're
to
going
get back
back
to
down
the-
to objective 4, Route 40. Yep. So this objective talks about reducing energy consumption in rentals, apartments, and multifamily buildings. And in the notes that I have, talks about that this isn't really a key focus at the moment, but it could be grouped with discussions of new taps, sewer, gas lines, etc. And just also note to pay attention to what's happening in Mountain Village and Town of Telluride as they're currently focusing on this area policy wise.
Kendra, this is an area that I'm real interested in, have a lot of questions about, because with the new IRA and other incentives out there, the questions of, whether a low-cost tenant can have their property owner benefit from electrification, can they qualify? I need to understand that better, because I'd love to. If we can find some way to incentivize property owners with those rebates and incentives, it sure would be great to publicize that.
I agree. I know Sean Hart, who's our green business program coordinator, has been doing a lot of work researching IRA funding and trying to figure out like what are the different mechanisms that are available and that kind of thing. And the thing that comes to mind right now is like the CARE program, which works to install energy efficiency upgrades and requires the consent of the landlord or homeowner, even if those who are renting are the ones who actually are income qualified for that program. But I'm not sure about like wider initiatives that exist currently that fill that gap that you mentioned.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll talk to Sean about it, and if you
Yeah,
come up with it, let us know.
will do.
Anything else for objective 4 there, folks? The 13 to 16.
If not, we can hop into objective 5, which talks about improving the energy efficiency performance of existing buildings. And this one has several different action items, 17 through 21.
Kendra, on 17, is it a typo where it says inventives? Should that be incentives?
Yeah, it's supposed to be incentives.
Okay.
I like inventives too.
Yeah.
Innovative.
Incentives. Yeah, if any of you come up with inventives, please let us know.
Alrighty.
Anything new here? If not, we can keep moving through.
Yeah. Education. Outreach financing opportunities. Which falls under the category of drinking from a fire hose with the amount of information coming down the pike from IRA and everything else. Encourage utilities to implement use. Alrighty, so 21, 22, last call for 22, moving on to 23.
Great. So this talks about the anticipation and mitigation of the likely expansion of air conditioning use in new and existing buildings, and really trying to prevent that or to incentivize encourage air source heat pumps as a really efficient way of heating and cooling in buildings.
Alrighty, I think we have talked about that previously and amply updated. So moving on to,
Objective 7.
7.
yeah, sorry, my screen's jumping.
All good, all good. So this is kind of where our catch-all for other actions. It includes talking about encouraging continued regular cost of service studies by SEMPA to incentivize and balance current and future priorities. So this is kind of where discussions around time of use and flattening that peak use in the evenings kind of comes into play, and how that can be incentivized and encouraged in our community. It also talks about the green business program. And then finally, electrification of outdoor yard tools through incentives, programs, and policies. Anything to add here about current initiatives or future initiatives?
Question without jumping to another town or county. Are any of these entities, towns or counties, working with their local chambers in terms of the green business components?
I don't know specifically. Trying to think of what Sean has said recently. I think he either presented at a recent Ridgway Chamber of Commerce meeting or hopes to present at a future one. But I'm not sure about other chambers of commerce.
I don't know if it's the right place to plug it in here, but it might be worth noting that in our redesign of Heritage Park, definitely sustainable development's at the core of that design. It's at a little bit of a hiccup right now. We originally had kind of gone down the path of using storage containers as the primary building, but we're exploring other ways because some of the cost per foot, the square footage costs just didn't pan out. So we're looking at other efficient ways to do this as well. So that's new build.
It also should be noted that solar is planned for that building as well. Just FYI.
I knew you were gonna chime in with that, Terry.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Some stuff's hard to
You're
hide.
like, you're like a graffiti artist with solar panels.
That's because I shine
So
brightly.
Kendra, would that fit in here, just to make a note of that in terms of Ridgway's Visitor Center with a green focus, something like that?
Yeah. I'm putting it in my notes.
Green and renewable.
Awesome. Any other questions or thoughts regarding building energy use before we hop into transportation and aviation?
I thought your list was very thorough.
Thanks. I didn't get to be a part of the creation of all of this, but I'm really happy to be part of the implementation side of things. So we're trying, but thank you.
Yeah, you are.
All right. Hopping into transportation and aviation. Oh, go ahead, Terry.
It was me, and I was just gonna make a quip
Oh, sorry.
about the Osprey and the 2 fighter jets that flew overhead today.
And Osprey and 2 fighter jets at
Yeah.
the same time
Right in succession, yes.
for no reason.
No idea. I thought
Right.
we were going to, but it wasn't.
Is the public transport, is that smart, or what's the acronym?
Smart
Is it-
San Miguel,
Yeah,
like regional
we
transport.
have our own Uray County public transport option coming this fall that's not reflected there.
Really?
I think it's in
It
one of
is.
these notes.
It's
on
in the notes.
yeah.
Yeah, it's over here.
Under 2 TA3. on the comments.
It's in the comment, okay.
Mm, It's just, it hasn't hit yet, so we don't have any.
Oh, collaborating with the shuttle IGA approved in April. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
I've got, this might be totally random, but at one of our first meetings, I think it was Eco Action Partners, there was a group for school buses, electric
Do
school
that.
buses, and, is that sound familiar to anybody?
Yeah, the school, applied for a grant, but they didn't get
It
it.
didn't.
Oh,
They need Terry to be the grant one.
Terry needs some sleep.
Mr. Success.
That's right.
So. Does that get us through objective 1 then?
I think
And
so, unless there's
objective-
anything else that's new, in objective 1. Also, congratulations on that like transit change. That's really exciting to hear about in our earlier meetings. So nice work. And that's being implemented this fall. Did I hear that correctly?
mhm,
Okay,
mhm.
awesome. Yay.
Angela's,
Good work.
Angela's.
Angela?
Yes, has there been any discussion of increasing options to reduce vehicle traffic in our communities, like the use of electric scooters that can be rented? I just got back from Europe and they're all over, like you just get a scooter, you put your smartphone in it, you take it where you want it, you just leave it there until the next person comes and gets it and they take it to the next place. And I mean, our communities are so perfect for little modes of transportation like that. And with, you know, generally good weather. I just wonder if there's been any discussion around non-vehicular options that are electric for people to opt into.
And by scooters, Angela, do you mean what, like the little cute, like 2 wheels
Hover
that
frames?
looks like a, yeah, like a skateboard with handles?
Yes,
Cause
yeah,
that's what,
Yep,
yeah, I was just like, just to clarify, not like a scooter, like a
not a
moto
motorcycle.
scooter.
No, it's a
The
stand
ones in
up.
Europe,
Yeah,
yeah, the
Stand
ones in
up.
Europe are just like this, it looks like the skateboard with the handle.
that's right.
Yeah,
So Bridget and I just got one of those and they can go like 30 miles an hour.
yeah, they're fast. I feel like you definitely have to electronically sign a waiver that says town's not responsible for you wrecking yourself. Someone's going to.
And to that point, I think both Kenny and Terry have something to say, but to that point, a lot of those programs are usually done privately
Mhm.
through a vendor system that then partners with the municipality. And a lot of it, those commercial elements are, you know, at economy of scale. So if you want to take on another position, there's a new business opportunity for you right there as well.
Exactly what I'm looking for.
But, I know that even like in
Yeah.
older pedal to properties, they provide bikes for going to do real estate tours. And then when they originally named it, they thought that would be the only way. And now they've gone to electric bikes and also have some scooters as well. So those are the kind of things that would be great to talk about, especially within the green commerce side of things here.
Yeah,
And Terry will remind us that we have e-bike rebates.
In fact, I was gonna do that, but that's not what my hand is up for.
What, how much is the Z-Bike rebate?
150 per bike.
$150?
Yeah,
It's in PA.
yeah.
Bikes are like 1,000
Oh, they're
plus.
more than that. They're like
Yeah.
3,000.
They're
3 or 4,000.
And Kenny?
Yeah.
Well,
Any
on the
idea?
on the subject of bikes and scooters and all that, I think before we get too far down that road,
Yeah.
before we get too far down that road, we need to clean up the bike lanes and sidewalks. It's dangerous to ride a bike in the bike lane right now. And so that now you're riding on the sidewalks, which aren't a lot better, and people are walking on the sidewalks. So this is just a note for the town maintenance, Public Works Department. Deb, if you could pass this along to please bring the street sweeper out.
Okay, Kenny.
Thank you.
So I have a separate issue that affects this category. It's on the books for the town that we're in the planning process of putting a roundabout at what is it, North Railroad and 62. And roundabouts are known to save pollution, save greenhouse gases, because people aren't sitting there idling, waiting to find a spot to jam themselves into. And the fact is, it's going to be an oval about because of the right of way that we have in that spot doesn't allow for a complete roundabout. So it would be somewhat of an oval. Nonetheless, I think that's an initiative that the town is undertaking that would affect this category.
Wait, where is this going?
I didn't.
Yeah, road and 62 here.
Right
North
here.
North Railroad and 62, right, the entrance into the town park there and towards
Yeah,
town buildings.
yeah.
Oh,
Yep. So that's
Yeah.
going to eventually be a roundabout.
That's a
So
nightmare.
Yep, but a roundabout will definitely lower greenhouse gas emissions because it's allows for traffic to pass through without having to stop and idle.
Better stick a solar panel smack dab in the middle of that sucker.
Be a huge solar array covering the whole thing.
And it may cause more idling emissions because all the people on other roads that are trying to turn onto Sherman and can't get out, because the traffic's slower, could be an issue.
Which will be solved by the tunnel that goes to Marshall. Alrighty, sorry, getting quippy here. I'm looking at the spring 2023 updates. Oh, Angela again.
Sorry. Okay, I don't want to interrupt. So we have a rule here in Ridgway. I believe it's a law. I don't know if it's a law, what it is, a policy, whatever we call it, but we have a no idling.
Yep.
And that's not enforced and it's not well advertised, and it's certainly something that could go in this category somewhere in terms of increasing signage. I find a lot of people that are idling are mostly people from out of town. And I think that it's great to have that, but it doesn't do any good if we don't enforce it or really create more signage so people are aware of it.
That's a good note, Angela. Maybe we should, let me make a note, especially with council.
Yeah, that's a good point. We could hire a small army of children to stick oranges in tailpipes.
I've seen, you know, at the town park where they advertise the farmer's market, I've seen a sign up.
Yeah, we've had this sign up there. Yeah. Yeah. And we've got it on the board out here and up at the post office, but
Not
I'm
enough.
not sure that there's really any other places, and it's on the website, but yeah.
Maybe
Or something.
are the new police officers even aware? And I mean, if they're driving by and they see stuff like that, they could put a little, they could have a special little thing. It's not, you know, it's not like a ticket or anything, but it's like, do you know we have a no idle? You know, you need to get some level of oversight to make things like this work. A sign isn't enough to hold people accountable.
You mean like paintballs or bear spray?
I was thinking more like mace.
It's going to increase the budget for armored vests.
Kendra, welcome to Ridgway. How are we doing on this category here? Where are we down? I don't see any other notes that we need to add in the margins at all. Here, anybody else?
For
Last call
objective
for-
one.
Sorry.
For transportation and aviation, we didn't really get into the aviation part of it.
No.
Objective 2, are we gonna,
Increased use of electric vehicles, you guys. Tracking and analysis of EV station use. I know that you guys did the Eco Action did the inventory, and that Xander did his research on.
Yep.
For the town here, and there's some stuff that's pending here in town, including the EV charging stations at the gas stations that are supposed to be going in this year.
will those be quick charge
Yeah.
ones?
Superchargers.
Nice.
Actually, and just you guys to put this note out there, and this is, Kendra, this is a totally different, little bit off the topic, but, we've bantered around the notion of having a sustainability conference of sorts here in county. And as I've been looking into the comps on those in different communities that have done that before they do it, they've done a survey to the community to find out their interest in the topics and rebates, et cetera. But one thing that would be of interest in this town is to find out how many people have already individually installed 220 chargers in their homes. And I'm saying that fresh because I just had one put in my house today after waiting a year. So
Dave and I have already gotten one. We're way behind.
I know, but I bought it a year ago and been waiting for an electrician to be able to show up and do it. So that's, part of the law. But anyway, I wanted to make a notation. It would be interesting to find out from the different communities how many individuals on existing homes and buildings are installing or don't just have EVs or hybrids, but also are installing those superchargers, which puts a greater load.
Yeah,
So something that want to be noted in this section.
Puts a greater load on the grid.
Mhm.
Unless
Yeah.
you have solar. I don't know,
Yeah, you need level 2.
Correct.
yeah.
I like the Coleman supercharger though. Anything else you guys I'm trying to keep this thing moving forward. So does that wrap up everything for objective 2?
I believe so. Sweet. We can hop down into the waste material section. We are over halfway through, so good work. For this section, the first objective talks about reducing the overall volume of waste transported to landfills through efforts to reduce, reuse, recycle, repurpose, and compost. And there's a note here about how Ridgway concerts and festivals have the opportunity to partner with Dirty Sturdies, which is a business run by Mark Sturdivant, to do local community scale composting. And that, like, a kind of recent update that I just learned about recently is that his business can now also accept eating ware that usually requires industrial compost infrastructure. So things like compostable spoons, forks, knives, compostable cups, those kinds of things. The temperature that's inside the structure that he composts with gets up to a high enough degree that it can break down those materials as well, which is really exciting.
Wasn't he already at the last year's
Yes.
July concert series? So we've already been doing, or Ridgway is.
We used him, yeah, but there was a lot of stuff that he couldn't compost. So trying to keep everything sorted was challenging. So now that he's got more capability of doing different products, it'll be much easier and much more efficient.
So will we use him again?
Oh, yes.
Just a note for everybody, when you guys have a conversation like that, not everybody out there can hear you.
Okay.
So amplify.
Did you hear that?
I was able to hear it because I'm close to the computer.
So, Dirty Sturdy was at our concert last year. We used them for our recycling for our cups. At that point, they only were able to do the cups, and the sorting, because people like to just throw stuff in any can that they can. And so it's very difficult to keep the stuff that can be composted separated from the stuff that cannot. So that was a little challenging. But we are using them again this year. And now that he's got more capability of doing different kinds of materials, I think it'll be much more efficient this year than it was last year. So we are continuing to purchase the products that can be compostable. So we're getting that dialed in.
Will we have like a compost trash can, like with signage?
We do have
We do
those.
have
Yeah,
one?
we have several up around the
Okay.
park.
And then do you know if the food truck vendors that come, if a lot
Well,
of them
that's
come?
now that he can do forks
Yeah.
and knives and things like that, then I'll definitely look into getting more cans that can go compost cans that can go by the vendor area. Yeah.
And styrofoam, and other things with the vendors, I mean, make sure the vendors.
Yeah, like we're asking vendors if they use compostable or recyclable products.
Like in the application process? is that
We
what-
don't do that at this point. So for this year, we've not required that. All the vendors are all set for this year,
Mhm.
which is next month.
Could we look for, yeah,
Sure, we can encourage it. I'm not sure that at this point in the process that we could actually require them. Because we are a month away. Less than a month
No,
away.
like next.
Yeah, yeah.
July 24.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just trying to speak in the context. of-
No,
of
sure, I
this
understand.
practice
Yeah,
for-
yeah.
To put that on there.
Compostable,
In addition to the application process, and maybe it would be worthwhile to consider that for all special use applications in town, like that we can, I know organization here.
and that's something that we can bring to council to put on those applications.
Yeah.
Well, let me check with Preston and see if that can be done administratively or whether it needs to come to council. It may just be an administrative thing.
Got it.
Which now I'm thinking about it, will be administrative.
Kendra, did you hear that? Spectrum of
Yes,
that conversation?
Yes, I'm making note of it right now.
Okay,
So integrate more sustainable practices into all public events and special permit events, something like that.
yeah, we send out a letter to all of the vendors of what we expect. And that could be something, it could be included in that letter. Every vendor gets it, as far as what they can do, what they can't do. So that's something that we can look at putting on to the next.
Yeah, we may need town council to vote on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we would because I think it's an administrative thing as far as that goes. I'm pretty sure that is, but I will check into that for sure.
If not, I'll show you more.
There you go.
Sure.
So just on this green,
Because if we,
rectangle, like Durango recycles compost. They have a little bucket that they put out every Wednesday. And the compost people come by and pick it up.
There's actually, Kendra, can you speak to that? The Bruin, I mean, it's noted here, but I think Bruin is expanding their.
Yeah, I
their
think we
compost
discussed,
capacity.
I can't speak to it publicly, but yes, there are initiatives that are happening in our region. Seminole County recently received a composting grant. And then in months to come, there'll be more information about composting changes happening with local waste haulers, but I can't speak to the details yet, unfortunately, because it's not public.
and
Oh,
Dirty
not
Sturdies
public.
does do pickup residential. Like I have a bucket right now.
Dirty Sturdy does?
Yeah, so
Oh,
they
that's
give
good
you,
to
he'll
know.
give you like a 5-gallon bucket with a screw lid and he comes twice a
Oh.
month and it's $25 a month. And pretty much everything can go in there as long as it's not dairy or meat, but like,
Oh, I did not. know
yeah,
that.
all your veggies, like the lint, even from your dryer, like my dog's pet hair, like
How did you find out?
I used to live in Telluride and he
Oh,
started
okay.
in Telluride, and I asked about Ridgway and he does actively have a route in Ridgway
Okay, that's
already.
very good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
And so, I mean, for me, like for a lot of people, $25 a month is still fairly affordable, so, and yeah.
Is
he'll
that-
pick up. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, is that information on the SAB webpage? Noting the residential compost opportunity?
It will be
Yeah.
by tomorrow.
Awesome,
Our website coordinators, yes.
perfect.
Looking when Silicon Valley Dave was.
Yeah.
noted that up.
Yes.
He's programming.
He's programmer now.
Yeah, and just to go back to the Bruin thing, I can't remember the specifics here.
There was
There
something
is
we
what-
discussed at that meeting, for this workshop for this cap,
Mm.
and,
that talked about that.
But yes, point being is, I know we had a discussion about increased capacity for compost at the
Yeah.
Bruin facility.
Yeah.
at the Ridgway site.
Mhm.
So.
But I don't think there was any set time or anything like that, but the discussions were
I
there.
think the study is
Yeah.
underway.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Kendra probably is biting her tongue and. knows
Correct.
more than we
Yeah,
do.
they're kind of still in the planning phases and they haven't released any official information
Yeah.
yet, but it'll be coming in the next couple months, definitely this summer. At least an initial like press release and things. And so I think they're still figuring out budgeting stuff. So yeah, but
That's awesome.
fingers crossed, it's
Great.
exciting. Yeah, to see those things happening.
It-
Should we move on to the
so we-
food sector unless there's anything else in waste?
I have something in waste that's not in the food sector, I'm not sure what comes after that. I have a comment about, building waste.
Yeah.
Oh, that's objective 3.
Objective
Yeah,
3?
construction.
Yeah,
It's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right here, objective 3 under,
Okay, I'm glad that's in there, I didn't, yeah, I have a fall that like,
Yeah.
the volume of garbage one house creates in its construction.
Agree.
yeah, that's an area that I think is going to require a lot of collaboration between the different jurisdictions because there's such a variety of contractors and we don't really have a system right now to deal with the volume of that waste and the different kinds of waste that come from construction and demolition projects. And so thinking about like, how can we collaborate together like as SCB jurisdictions to figure out like, can we come up with similar policies or tackle that kind of as a group and bounce that around between a bunch of different minds.
Good.
I mean, I guess there's a way to, if somebody wanted to get a master's in it, they could look at all the receipts going in and out of the landfill. Because they have to be identified as whether it's construction waste or household waste or electronics. But that would take a concerted effort from the development community and a moving target.
But we could
Totally.
inspect big things that are sitting out there.
Maybe,
It's ridiculous.
yeah, I'm sorry, maybe on the front end, in terms of when people go to build, to make them aware of the potential waste of their project involved. I can already see my contractor buddies spanking me for reading, all right, anything else on those notes? You guys want to add anything in there? Anything you're aware of? Other than conversely saying that I know there's an effort over here to build smaller as well.
So I guess adding on to that, like by making people aware of the waste that creates, like, is there any information on how can that be reduced, right? So it's like if I'm building a home and you tell me, well, that's really wasteful. And I say, well, like, what can I do to reduce that? Like, I would genuinely not know what can you do? Because I think.
or
if you
the
tell
material's
someone-
reusable, that could be,
Right, yeah, like what can you request? Because if you tell someone that it's an issue, but don't give them any information of how can they alleviate or reduce it, then it's not, I mean, not really like useful information.
Well, I guess one way to track it and channel it is like resource over on the Front Range is all leftover building materials. And Kendra, over on your side of the hill, is there anybody that that has a retail operation that sells unused building materials or reclaimed building materials?
Not
There was
to
a
my
place in
knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Angela-
I think
oh.
there was one that some guy ran. I got some stuff when he got forced out of there. That was behind the police station there in Ilium. But I know in Durango, there's a big program, but it would be interesting to find out if there's anything like that in San Miguel and Uray County. Even if it's just an individual that's hoarding and.
Those are called estate sales in Telluride and Mountain Village, where they sell like tons of stuff.
Yeah, but that's furniture and stuff, like, is it,
Sometimes they have appliances.
Well, a
Yeah.
lot of it is from the architects, from the planning point where you use a stick of wood that's, you know, the right length instead of cutting too many sticks of wood.
Mhm,
There's a lot to do with just the design of the house to
mhm,
be more efficient. So, I mean, this could be an onion, you know,
mhm.
a good onion. If somebody knew, you know, a contractor knew all the specifics.
Mhm.
I don't.
Angela, did you have something?
Yeah, there's two coming in back.
let- I'm gonna let Kenny go first because mine's more with development and building emissions. So Kenny's maybe more related to this topic. Go ahead, Kenny.
There's two outlets in Montrose. There's nothing to my knowledge in Uray County or San Miguel County that will accept used building materials. There was a business called Construction Depot in Montrose. I don't know if they're still there. And then there's.
They are.
Oh, good. And there's always Habitat for Humanity. And they, you know, wood products like studs and floor joists and things like that, they get cut and there's cutoffs from those and there's not a lot you can do with them. But the industry is moving more and more towards engineered products, which are more stable and there's less waste with those. And that could be a route to take, is requiring engineered studs, engineered floor joists. Most contractors use them anyway, so it wouldn't be a hard sell. And aside from that, I agree, there is too much waste in construction and some of it is unavoidable, but it all comes down to cost too. If you're wasting a lot of materials, then you're costing your client more money. And that's not good.
Maybe we could look at some of that for the website.
Yeah. Or Ken, do you know, I was told by a couple people about construction by like, you know, modular home construction, just because things are prefabricated and made kind of at an entity, that the carbon footprint and just the amount of waste, if you can build some like prefab modular style home, is just significantly less than a stick build home. And I know that I think modular had kind of a bad rep with like manufactured homes, but I have seen actual modular home builds and they look super nice and just like a single family stick build home these days. You really couldn't tell. But I don't know if you have knowledge or information on if that's true, and if so, like, that's something maybe we could put on our website about just like, here's some sustainable considerations for if you're gonna build a new home in Ridgway.
That's a really good point, and I have never built a modular home, so I don't have first-hand knowledge, but it just makes sense that if you're building the same home, and same thing goes for tract homes too. If you're building the same home over and over, there's a lot less waste because you know exactly how much material to order, you know what the cuts are going to be. And so that makes a lot of sense with manufactured homes, and some of them are quite nice, some of them are not. So you get what you pay for there always.
Two quick notes. As per the Heritage Park, the visitor center, we moved away from exploring just the storage containers, but also looked at modular as another way to decrease the embodied carbon footprint. And on a first look at a bunch of different sources online, the number that pops up most often is a modular is 45% less carbon intensive than traditional building.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I was told like by someone else that was kind of in the building sector that it was quite notable, and that's just because it, like Ken said, you know how much material you need, you're in a factory, it's prefabricated, like it's just, and it's actually way more efficient for building schedule as well.
It should be noted that there's a company that's trying to come into Montrose right now, very similar to Fading West, which built the Pinion project out in Norwood, as well as the Wetterhorn here. And those are, prefabs. And as they go through iterations, they're becoming increasingly more efficient. And there's a competitor to them that wants to come in Montrose with a plan of 170 some odd employees to start.
Wow.
So pretty significant company. So, and that, a lot of that pressure is coming from the demand side of things, because people want very efficient buildings with a lower carbon footprint as well.
And lower lots.
Per square footage, yeah, on average, $100 to $140 a square foot.
And I think they're able to customize the buildings a lot more than they did in the past.
Yeah, they're getting better. And these massive airplane hangar style buildings. Where basically they build a specific room in each, and then they click and giggle together. Angela, you wanted to chime in on this stuff?
Yes, I'm in full agreement with all of that great education stuff. I think we're overlooking the emissions that development itself is having on Ridgway. Certainly we're addressing the building codes and what the footprint of the actual buildings will be when they're inhabited, but with the volume and just density of growth that we're experiencing, the massive vehicles and emissions that are happening with that, I think are probably one of our biggest current emissions. And if we continue growing at this rate, we'll continue to be a factor there. And I don't know how that's, I don't know how we can measure that, but perhaps looking at using vehicles that, aren't diesel, like you have to idle a diesel vehicle. They have to leave them running. We have all these dump trucks. It just, I'm a little bit sensitive to it now, because the school next door has been in construction for over a year now, and it's just incredibly high volume of large construction vehicles every day. And I think that we need to think about how future development is actually built, rather than looking at just the outcome of the carbon footprint when it's inhabited. Does anyone have thoughts on that?
I think part of that is updating a building code.
I was gonna say, I think that's inherent in everything else that we're working on right now. At the local, regional, and state level, and national level for sure.
But
Yeah.
with the use of the vehicles that are I'm talking about the dump trucks, the bulldozers, the land movers, all these big vehicles that are used for the construction. Are we addressing those emissions at all?
I don't know if we are or not, at least directly, but indirectly, just by incentivizing more green building practices themselves. Should by inherently minimize the amount of transport. And I mean, you can get into the weeds of, concrete, use of concrete has huge.
But yeah, that's I guess I'm not being understood fully, because that's more the end result. And I'm talking about more like the actual building of the facility, the equipment that's used, in the carbon footprint that goes into the building of the facility, mostly the vehicles.
So
Are you suggesting a mechanism that somehow regulates the amount of vehicles that
Yeah,
are being used for development?
yes. Something like that, or that those vehicles are electric or propane or
They don't
something.
Well,
have
we-
electric options.
Can I just speak to this for just a moment? So we had this discussion about the vehicles themselves, and there are vehicles that are coming out that are being produced, construction vehicles, lifters and whatever, I don't know the terminology.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm
that
talking
they are making them electric, and the problem with those, Angela, is the cost is horrendous. They just are not to that point, because it's such a new thing. I know that we were talking about, David brought it up that, why is the town not buying, trucks and stuff that are electric? And, in our area, we have to have a certain kind of vehicles that will get through this kind of terrain. And the vehicles that they're producing, that are electric are just, have not proven to last. And they also are so expensive that the cost is way above their efficiency. So, I
I'm
think
not sure
that.
much of that. I'm not sure all that is true, by the way. I think that's
What's
misnomer.
that?
I don't think that's correct information, but that's the impression. But
Well,
that's
that's what we
related.
found from just looking at vehicles and talking to other communities, that San Miguel County was looking at vehicles and found that the type of vehicles, construction vehicles they were looking for were very expensive.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that that's gonna continue on. But I think for these construction companies that are bringing in dump trucks and all this that Angela's speaking about, I think that has to go on those companies about shifting their way of doing business.
But it also has to go on us requiring them to do it. And I think
Yeah.
cost aside, at some point, we just have to say this is okay and this isn't. And certainly we can't say right now, yeah, everybody has to have electric construction vehicles, but I think that as I see it, it's one of the biggest emissions in our community right now. Rather than even more than vehicles driving through or residents moving about. And I just like in the long range.
I don't disagree with you at all on that. I mean, I see it and I smell it.
Yeah, may I interrupt for a moment? Because I have to leave. I have an appointment at 6:30.
Terry,
Yeah, let's
Terry?
get Terry on.
Yeah, sorry, my dog's going through the dog door. Two quick things. One, partly for Dana's benefit. The planning grant that we got for the microgrids for Ridgway haven't been contracted yet. And we may not get a contract in place until August, it turns out, because of the fiscal year situation, which means we can't begin work on looking at all the planning for the microgrid that would include the solar array on Dana's property as well as possible town property. So that's point one. Point two, tomorrow is SMPA's annual meeting. Everybody here is a member of SMPA. There's free food. I think it's ribs provided by the Array Cafe down the road, as well as big door prizes. It starts at 4 or 4:30, I think, till 7. There's an annual meeting and a food. So just make sure everybody knows about that and is invited to it. I drew the short straw. I'm in charge of booths. Great, Dave. So I hope to see you all there, and I've got to sign off for the day. Thanks for letting me listen in.
Thanks, Terry.
Thanks, Terry.
We hope to see
Bye-bye.
you for the SAB booth too.
Ken?
Yeah, I'm gonna speak to what Terry just talked about. Dave and I will be manning the SAB booth at the SMPA meeting tomorrow. So come on and meet some people and talk about what we're doing. I also want to speak to Angela's concern about the heavy equipment and the diesels. And until that technology is improved and more mainstream, there's no other way to get that kind of work done. It's just, if you require someone to use less equipment, the job's going to take longer and it will end up costing more and having a larger carbon footprint. So it's, I sympathize. I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's not going to happen soon, I'm afraid.
I totally understand, but I do think it's a massive oversight if it's not included in long-range planning. Or it just isn't addressed in a climate action plan as like a 10-year out type of thing. I just feel like we're missing a large emission boat if we don't even mention it.
Angela, I think we'd all agree with you on that. I would say a place to zero in on that to see, unfortunately, at a different scale, is if you go into the tracking, there's various tracking programs are online for, especially with the Inflation Reduction Act. If you go into transportation, you start to see what's happening at the bigger scales. And I don't think your concern is disregarded at the, even through the eyes of the big federal program of the IRA. But to execute it on a local level or hold your contractor to an agreement that they're gonna run all green machinery or so, to Kenny's point, it's just, I agree with you, it's gotta be scaled out to 5 years, 10 years. But to incentivize that in any place possible.
It's just something out of the box, and I might be completely out in left field, because I don't know anything about how heavy equipment stuff is run, but I wonder if there's a way to have some regulation on it and say, like, how you have to have the architect draw the design of the house to like have some kind of structure on how they're running the heavy equipment, make sure like when possible, only one machine run at a time and one's not idling for 6 hours. I don't know if it's possible to have any oversight in the interim.
There is some of that already in terms of like working with the hours per diem. That they can run machinery, hours that they can start at, finish at. I know that contract like Stryker and FCI, they're very aware of it because every time the machine's gaining hours and burning diesel, they're losing money. And to the point of, I just bought a skid steer personally this year. I bought a used one that came from, I got in a government lottery to buy a new Bobcat, and I was able to get it in the 40 grand range. The cheapest electric one that at the same capacity is 125,000 with a 2-year wait. So it's just not in the marketplace yet. So regulatory, there's promise to do that going forward. But until the market catches up with it.
I'm not regulating to like go into electric vehicles, to like having some structure to the heavy equipment at each site, like not have one thing idling for 6 hours while a Bobcat's taking a hold.
I hear you. I don't think contractors typically would do that.
Okay.
Haven't been around that.
Kendra, are you aware of any other communities that are in the cap that have any language in their? I don't recall seeing anything about that kind of thing, heavy equipment.
Nothing in the appendixes. I know Ophir's had similar discussions around this of thinking about transitioning their government-owned like heavy equipment. And it's kind of in a similar realm that you all have been speaking about. So nothing official yet, but that's another community to keep in mind as these discussions continue.
Okay.
Super, good to know. Thank you.
No problem. I want to be respectful of your time. Is there a time that this meeting is supposed to wrap up by?
It's supposed to be by 7, and we have other things on the agenda, so if you want to move
Okay.
on to food sector.
Yeah, for
Is there
sure.
anything glaring for anybody in this that they'd want to add into? Efforts in Ridgway?
I will just say that in case people weren't aware, there is a CSA available in Ridgway through Borden Farms. So if, just as like a heads up, that if someone wanted to participate in a CSA, Borden Farms is the only one that I've found that actually has a drop off.
It is.
pickup.
Yeah, I use them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be great if there were more opportunities, but that's the only one I know of.
Do you want to make a note on that, Kendra? That
Yeah,
there is a
it's in here.
CSA option?
I
Okay.
just put it in. Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Should we hop into
Glad
the
to see
water
you.
section or anything else on food?
A question related to that, because I mean, in our Sustainability Advisory Board webpage, the question of how much we can promote, where you draw the line with promoting local businesses.
Yeah.
And that
Options.
might be a discussion that we have. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because we've said we want to promote Dirty Sturdy, do we want to promote, CSA, and then do we?
I mean,
Where do we go?
Yeah, so
yeah, we should have that in another meeting because it would be honestly like maybe, JT, you'll know of other farms that would be interested in expanding their CSA programs to Ridgway if there were more people interested. But I mean, I know like I like being part of a CSA, but if there's only one option, that's the
Yeah.
one you go with.
She only has a limited amount. so-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And they're, I think, closed now.
Mhm.
It's starting to
She's
cheat.
She's on the,
So you guys, for sake of efficiency and for respecting Kendra's time as well,
Yeah.
let's move on to water, unless there's a last call for anything else in the food section. All right, moving on to water use section.
Sweet. So the first objective here is reducing water consumption from municipal and industrial uses. This is another area where, is this on the website for the SAB webpage?
It is, but I'd like more on there, so anything y'all have, please send it my way.
Okay, will do. There was some discussion about future opportunities to involve a master's student in coming up with more planning and more research around water conservation and drought mitigation measures. And that's something that the town of Ophir has also discussed. And so I don't know if that's, it kind of sounds like that's maybe not on the docket for this upcoming year, but in future years, that's an opportunity that could be tapped into.
It has been discussed. It was too late for this particular year. Town manager Preston's aware of it. And we're staying in contact vis-a-vis you, Kim Wheels, with John over at Western State.
Awesome. Sounds great. The second objective here, it talks about improving watershed health and security. And I have a note in here about an updated irrigation water code in either 2021 or 2022, and that there's room for additional efforts. I don't know if anyone has any ideas of how to address either of these two objectives.
Joyce, is there anything on your radar right now in terms of, especially, I don't know, on the conservation side of water, or are you mostly focused on consumptive water right now?
My role at the town is actually on development review applications, so
yeah.
not necessarily on the water items at this point. I think that, you know, conversations with Preston, who is also acting public works director, they certainly have a lot of water programs and capital improvement projects, and there are grants and loans available. But a project has to be identified before you can look into any loan funding opportunities for that project. So that if we wanted to look at promoting a conservation project, that would be a conversation with Preston and Public Works. So what capital improvement projects need to happen, and if there is one that maybe would help with water leakage and improving water losses and those kind of issues, like, you know, we as a team could try and support that by looking for grant loan opportunities.
I'm gonna throw one thing in on that note first. Kendra, one thing that I had gotten excited about on turf removal, turned out that that's primarily on the Front Range. It's not available to rural municipalities yet. But to actually get cash back for pulling grass out of your yard. And to what's noted here, as far as the changes in the water code, going back a couple of years here in Ridgway. My last look at it a year and a half ago was that there was still room to further push xeriscaping in new builds and also in existing builds. But we've not moved on that. And there certainly is room for that. And I think that's something that we should.
You mean
We should-
make it a requirement?
I thought we did move on that.
Well, we moved on it to a degree, but I think there's some, as far as the percentage and the square footage. other municipalities, including places like Aurora, have even gone to the extreme and said absolutely none.
Okay.
So,
No,
to your point, not just to incentivize, but to
Oh.
require, on those lines.
And I think for WU.3 for low flow water fixtures, I need to double check, but I'm pretty sure the town already requires the use of low flow water fixtures
Mhm.
for new
Yep.
builds anyway,
Yeah.
so,
Mhm.
I mean, there's not like, yeah. By encourage incentivize, it's required for pretty much all new buildings anyway.
I'm all for gray water, but my understanding is it's illegal in Colorado.
You're allowed to collect up to 2 50-gallon
Yeah.
rain barrels.
That's just,
per
that's new.
residence.
So that's
Yeah.
different. Gray water.
That's different.
Oh,
Yeah, you
right,
can collect
yeah.
those, that's rainwater. Gray water, I think. There is one system that's gotten approval or something like that, possibly, but it's really expensive.
Yeah, I've got links on the website. State of Colorado says it's illegal.
Yeah, I think someone was telling me that the state had recently approved like one gray water system.
It has come before council here last year. Ruth brought it as this a discussion piece, but at the state level, it's not moved. So it's not been anything that's been pursued here. Although it's on town's radar for sure.
Yeah. Right now, gray water is challenging because of the water use requirements, like everyone. You have to put back into the stream because there's so many downstream people and users that pull from that water source.
Unnavigable waterways.
Mhm.
All right.
So,
Anything?
locally, it seems like, I don't know if Deb had decided this, but, it seems like the town parks get watered like daily.
They don't.
No?
No, we twice a week, they shift. So it's like 2 days a week. I think it's like Thursday and Monday at the athletic park, and then they switch off here. So they're not watering every day. They are watering different parks.
You might won't go down there, but maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it's, well, lately we've had so much.
Turning the water off if we have rain.
There's grass on.
Are they what?
Turning the water off if we have rain.
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't think so. I think they're on timers.
It's been asked before.
Yeah, I think it's all on timers. It's all programmed.
It's a challenging thing and it depends on changing out the timers. that
Yeah.
are placed. And a lot of times, especially on the weekend, you'll see during a rainy day, the sprinklers will be on here in the bar.
But even during the weekdays,
Yeah.
if we could somehow elevate that one again, in this committee, that'd be great.
They have systems that are sensitive to rain.
Yeah.
Supposedly, I don't know.
Like my neighbor.
But they do have.
Or you push a button.
My net.
And it shuts it.
Yeah.
Angela's got her hand up and you guys are we're
We gotta,
trying to keep things
moving.
moving along.
Thank
There's
you.
lots of
I'll make it short.
discussion
One
of all these things.
thing from a sustainability lens, with water, I see it is two things. One is the resource and how much there is and conserving it, but also the cost of the resource and it being sustainable for residents that aren't the new folks that are moving to town that are purchasing homes for 4 times that people who have been here for a long period of time are. And one of the, the great thing about solar and electrification is your utility bills go down over time, but I have a major concern with the cost of water going up and subsidizing new development. And I just wonder from a sustainability perspective, if we could at another meeting discuss a scaling type of fee for water. I don't know if it's based on income or what, but obviously based on usage. But I do see that as a real problem because I can envision the cost going up and up and up as it has. And that's all.
Noted.
Sweet. Let's hop into land use. This is our last section before we get to Ridgway's appendix. So This section has 3 objectives that cover pretty much all of the actions below it. Those objectives include increasing greenhouse gas sequestration and water retention capacity of land in the region. The second is increasing the yield and health of crops and livestock through use of regenerative agriculture and ranching practices. And the third is increasing greenhouse gas sequestration capacity of trees and plant life in the region. Same as before, I'll give you all a moment to read over these actions identified and leave a little bit of space for any discussion of how to implement some of these actions.
One note I want to make right off the bat is on the PES program, payment for ecological services. I was with Chris Holstrom 2 weeks ago at Mountain Film, and didn't even realize until then, or hadn't remembered until then, that that program is something that might be worth investigating more deeply over here. At least as an educational tool as well.
That's county program over there and the money comes from the county.
Yes.
What does it do?
It helps especially on soil development. In our case with all the ranching, further, and that's not in town per se right here, but in terms of water conservation, and also soil development, and incentivizing and at least having conversations with ranchers to do more holistic resource management.
Well, I've already started and I've got this implement, the yeoman plow that we've been leasing out to people. So we just have to have somebody that cares
Yeah, and spreading the word.
and spreading the word.
So I just want to make a note that I think it might be worth all of us to look at San Miguel County's PES program, because it's broken down. pretty
You can
interesting.
spread the word that I have a yeoman's plow, that's with the sustainable, that's with this. Anyway, it's the plow that you use that doesn't break up, doesn't kill the microbes. It's what they encourage with sustainable agriculture, so I have went to California to get it. So if you know any ranchers that
I wouldn't
are
mind.
interested,
Darn.
I've actually.
My swale.
I've actually talked to rednecks that are interested because they can't grow crops in certain dead soils.
Have developed a soil horizon. Anything else on here, you guys, as you're scrolling through from Love 1 to Love 7?
Is forest fires anywhere in this plan? I mean, I think it's going to be one of the biggest concerns in terms of climate change in our area, surrounded by all these forests with trees that are, dying of beetle kill. And we're seeing that more and more. I just wonder if we have a plan at all in place for fire mitigation or emergency planning as well.
I think it depends on the community. I'm trying to remember which communities have like wildfire mitigation plans. I think that would be more under it's both water use and land use in those sections. We talk about it in the actual like climate action plan document, but there isn't I don't believe like an action item that's associated with like wildfire hazard planning and creating those plans for the jurisdictions.
Yeah, it's really the one things that connect all of our communities are the forests in between.
Yeah.
It does seem like something that we should discuss in terms of how can we increase the health of the forests as they're increasingly stressed with drought and heat.
Yeah, forest
know
health
that
is
it-
definitely included in here, but in terms of like more specific community plans or like evacuation and emergency plans, I don't think we have that for the whole region.
The town of Ridgway, the county of Uray and Uray County are in the process right now of doing a RFP to hire a firm to do a emergency evacuation plan for wildfires, for floods, for all sorts of natural disasters. That's coming up in just very shortly, actually.
Okay. Is that like in the next
And-
year, or is that, what's the timeline? for that?
Actually, the RFP, we've just received the RFPs, and I'm part of that committee to go through them this next week. And then
Okay.
I think by November, we should have that plan completed.
Awesome.
Something that could be used as a metric that we might want to pull into this across this whole region is insurance rates. Especially homeowners rates have continuously gone up primarily because of fire hazard, even in the core of towns like Ridgway and Uray. And Uray as a town does have a fire, a wildfire committee that communicates with the state wildland fire agency. There's now a Colorado agency, not just National Forest Service. So Uray has a relationship. I don't think Ridgway does.
I'm not sure
I
about
think
that.
I think it's at the county level.
Is it at the,
Because Ben used to serve on it, and I think it's vacant from the county right now.
okay. Okay,
I got something kind of different to back up a little bit with, I wonder if we would consider in our building code work, like, well, for example, when I look at these new, what are they called, townhouses down here? And I don't understand the design where like the garage is faced this way, so they had to put all this cement and pavement in. Whereas like, if they could have the garages on the street, that could be all green space and carbon sequestering trees. And I just wonder if we could think about that in future developments of like minimize the amount of asphalt and concrete we're putting down and promote like
That would be,
carbon sequestration.
that would be in the building, in the code process.
yeah.
Well, it made the land use just maybe.
Yeah, yeah, it just, I think this is functioning at a different scale. Per se, not necessarily at the park or landscape level. This is at the landscape level, whereas the code would deal with the amount of square footage you have to have for green space or zero escaping along those lines. So let's save that for the codes side of things, and I think when we unpack that, that'll be. Sorry, I'm trying to be the border collie right now. Anything else you guys for this land use section?
All
Before
right,
moving
so
on
then
to
we're gonna hop into the
appendix.
appendix section. And then I'm just gonna put this thought into your mind before we wrap this up. At the end of this, I'm gonna ask for, as a group, to identify a couple priorities for the upcoming year. And like, we've been really zoomed in and going through all of the actions, which is super helpful. And then I think it's also helpful to take a step back and think about, here are all of the things that we can possibly do and all the things that we're thinking about. How are we going to, concentrate our energy in the next year, and then redo that again next year and say, okay, we've accomplished these things, or these things are in progress, and then what's next to come. So get that in the back of your minds before we do this appendix section. I think this is pretty up to date, but if there's anything that anyone wants to add, or new things that have happened with any of these items in rows 119 through 126, please don't hesitate to share those.
Would you like us to send you a summary
Yeah, that would be
of
great.
those?
So that is one thing that we will be doing before we close out this meeting, is to talk about that, having those priorities set to go to council, what you guys want to present to council as being the priorities for this cap, so that they can approve that or pick or whatever they want to do. Yeah. So this is going to be something that you really need to spend some time on individually, and then get together and decide what you want these priorities to be.
Marching orders.
Marching orders.
And I think with that, like if each person identifies, you know, your top 3 priorities are the things that you feel are really important for the next year. And then together, you can pick like 5 priorities or something that the group collectively feels need to be highlighted. Then I think that's a good strategy.
Thanks for those suggestions, Kendra. That's excellent.
No
Is
problem.
that gonna same time as approving the cap? or-
No, we're going to tonight, I'm gonna ask for action to approve or recommend approval
Okay.
for council to adopt the cap.
Right.
Yeah. Because they want to do that this next meeting.
Yeah, I think we.
Yeah, which is Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday, they want to adopt the cap. And then we can go back to them with our top choices of what we recommend be focused on. Yeah.
Actionable ones.
Yeah, exactly. Mhm.
And someone from EAP will be available for that meeting. That's next Wednesday, correct?
Next Wednesday is for the adoption.
Okay.
It's not
one of
for
us
the
will be
recommendation.
available. Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
We're planning
Yeah,
either
yeah.
Emma or I will be around for that to answer
Okay.
questions as needed.
okay, great.
So can we do that quick? We're gonna make a motion to recommend that cap be adopted.
Yes, are we done? If we're done here?
Yeah, I mean, we should wrap up with Kendra. first.
Yeah, let's do that first.
Kendra, was that the upshot there? Yeah.
Say it again.
I'm sorry, actually, I said it wrong. Was that the capstone for you for your time with us today?
Yeah. I'm happy to stick around and answer other questions, but it's really helpful for me to get to sit in on this and help facilitate and also just listen to the things that you all are thinking about. It's really exciting that you all are meeting and leading these initiatives. So I just want to say thank you to you for doing that. And yeah, it sounds like you all have homework to take home and think about the action items that are going to stick with you for the next year. And then, yeah, I just look forward to seeing what you distill from that, and then we'll go from there.
Great.
And as you depart, just so you know, the next thing on our agenda is to discuss the possibility of the sustainability conference over here. And so I've talked with Kim about it, but just want to make sure it was on your radar as well. Because I think it would be more than just a town conference, it would be a regional.
Yeah.
And with the kind of preparation and planning for that one. So something to keep on your radar and continue having that conversation with us as well. But certainly the cap would be integral to that.
For sure. Is that, I'm trying to make sure that I'm thinking of the right thing. Is that something that was discussed potentially happening like late this summer or early fall? Or is that totally different?
That was the original thought, but feeling
Okay.
that was too ambitious on the time schedule. So
Okay.
we're gonna move on to that now and see what feels right, but I'll keep you abreast of all that too.
Excellent. Sounds good. Well, thank you all so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And good luck with the rest of your
Thank you,
meeting.
Kendra.
Thank you, Kendra.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Thanks.
you listening and moving this forward.
No problem. Happy to do it. Take
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, you guys. 6:48.
Let's go ahead and see if we want to do a motion.
You like to make a motion?
Yeah, can I
Mhm.
make that motion that we recommend the town council adopt the cap?
A
Okay.
second.
Okay,
And you have to do.
all those in, yeah, let's just do a roll call. Yeah.
I'll
Do a
second.
roll call. Okay, we've got Joyce has done a second, so I'm gonna do a roll call vote here. Angela,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Yes,
JT. Okay. Okay, unanimous approval.
so I will take that approval of that to council.
Yep.
And note that it was unanimous from the Sustainability Advisory Board. At this meeting.
Awesome.
So moving on to item number 2, alas. Discussion regarding sustainability conference. I know I've missed a meeting or two with you guys. I don't know how much this got fleshed out with y'all.
Not much.
Um,
Yeah, not
just to get
much.
an idea, And it's been an idea that keeps getting bandied around and dropped, with commissioners and with URA, the city of URA as well. Or if it continues like that, I would suggest then we just take a sober look at whether we want to do it spearhead it as SAU and when. So I just
About
kind
a
of wanted to
festival,
open this up to conversation.
sustainability festival instead of a conference, and do something in the park
So an event that.
where it's interesting, fun, instead of people going on shit, we gotta talk about.
And I think that was Dave, that was kind of your original thought, was to do something in the park. And I know I know I talked with Preston briefly about that, and he was totally all for it. He thought that was a great idea. Is doing more of a local sort of just gathering.
Yeah, I think you probably want to have a youth ride around.
Right. Bike, electric bikes, you have,
Green beer.
now I've.
But, yeah, and
Non-alcoholic.
so I think we start small and then we can add on, but so you start with an EV event. And then what do we add on to that we can do? Because as JT says, it can get overwhelming in a hurry. What.
Yeah,
So.
and before I forget to tell you guys, I want to just mention that the next article in the newspaper is going to announce the website going live.
Okay.
So that'll be in there.
The one for tonight?
The website.
No, the newspaper, is that, because it just released.
It might be in this one, or yeah, I'm not sure. He was gonna put it in there. I told him just 2 days ago that 3 days ago that we actually got it on the site. So I'm not sure if he had time to do that or not, but it will be in the next one of the editions. So he checked it out and he was very impressed with it.
I have a comment on the conference. I think it's a great idea, but I don't think that it's going to move forward with this group organizing it as we currently have been discussing it. I think it, just like the website, it needs a task force of 2 or 3 people that come up with the scale, the scope, the goals, what it's, who it involves, what we want to accomplish, and a budget. And we don't have a budget. We don't have any funding. So I think
So
that would be my suggestion, is if we want to do this, we have a task force that works on it and then proposes to this committee, bounces some ideas off, and then that's something we could propose to town council.
So, and on that point, I did talk to Preston about your original idea of doing the little thing in the park. And he was very open to paying for advertising, flyers, that sort of thing, that the town would take care of that if that's something you wanted to do as an event here in Town Park. Yeah, so
That's
that's
great.
an
I still
option.
think it needs like a small group of people that organize speakers or booths, or, at this point, it's a great idea, but I have I can't picture what it looks like or how it's organized in terms of what information are people going to get, who's going to provide the information. So either if we want to take it on as a group here, we're going to need a dedicated meeting, just like we did with the website before the task force guys hit that. Or we have a small task force that operates, as I just said. I don't need to repeat myself.
Yeah, I think we really want to be clear exactly what impact we want to have. Especially because some of the biggest things, like, is it going to be just energy focused, given the code issues that we're wrestling with this year, and waiting for consideration for adoption. Yeah, what flavor do we want it? Do we want it to look like an Earth Day celebration, or do we want it to look like it had a salvo?
But now you're talking about organizing a conference, and if we're going to do that, let's decide we're going to do it as a committee and have a meeting designated to that. rather than talk about the concepts now, let's either have a small task force or let's decide we're going to do it as a committee is what I'm saying. Because we just keep throwing around a bunch of ideas that aren't structured in any way that are going to help us come up with a plan unless we designate a time to do it and a structure how by we do it. I get frustrated that we have these ideas and we want to implement them, but we don't have the time to come up with the plan or a budget to make it happen. And advertising's great, but who are going to be the presenters? I'm not going to get out and talk about anything. Who on this committee is going to present and have a booth? And, you know, it just feels like a great idea with no organizational structure to make it into a reality from my perspective. And yeah.
Okay, maybe as a practical measure, then if we are gonna have a specific meeting about sustainability conference, then we send out a Google poll for that meeting so we can really drill down just on that and nothing else on that work session.
Okay.
Great,
Is
I like that.
That what you guys
work for
want?
you, Angela?
So
So as we did with the website, have a special work session meeting to discuss having some sort of a
yeah, I mean,
conference, if you, that's
It's a
what
work session, yeah.
a work session.
Work session about sustainability conference.
yeah, we could do that. That would make sense. I'm concerned, and we don't have it on the agenda here, but I mean, we have a sustainability conference opportunity tomorrow. We have a booth. And it seems like we should at least talk about that for 1 or 2 minutes.
And that is on my additional items for this meeting, is to talk about the booth for SMPA.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. Well, so Kenny and I can make it, and what are you gonna talk about?
Well,
Right.
I was under the assumption that that booth would be a great opportunity to get people to know that the SAB is alive and kicking.
Right.
And that there's a website that they can use and maybe even give some demonstrations on what is in the website, what it offers. And the things that we're looking at, you know, just highlighting, you know, the climate action plan that's being adopted by the town, that just things like that. That's what I was envisioning it being, just a kind of an intro to this group.
It sounds great to me, and my plea would be that everybody go out to the website and take a look at it, because
Yeah, it
it's,
did.
you know, pretty well done now. I can still add more things to it, like dirty sturdies or whatever, but try to break it, you know, go take a look at it and send Ken and I ideas. Send one or the other of us ideas, and send them to both, but we'll communicate and try to, you know, continue to improve it, because now that we're going live, it's something that, you know.
So testing both the navigation on it and the content.
Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I definitely have a sign sheet for emails for people so that we can have fun, like if we needed to send something out. Are you up for
Saving the planet.
saving the planet? You care about what we're doing?
Yeah.
Then we could have a coterie of people.
Sure.
So I think, I think that at this point, we should probably decide, do you guys want to have a work session to discuss this, or how do you want to move forward?
Discuss the festival, the conference.
Mhm.
Yeah, we could.
I mean, that's, you guys just, yeah, if it's something you want to do, I'll set it up.
Sure.
And as busy as we all are.
Yeah.
always, let's try to do it sooner than later. So let's
Okay,
try to
yeah,
set
let's
up
try to do this month, because next month is going to be really tough to fit in any additional meetings.
Thursday night at 6.
Yeah, like Thursday at 6. Or Wednesday or Friday. you know.
Yeah.
Is it not possible to just have our next meeting dedicated to one topic and do that?
Well, the thing about the next meeting is we need to get our priorities for the cap set so that we can get
Sure.
that to, and then we also had
I think the
one other item on the
I
agenda for
think
next.
the big priority for me is, to make the recommendation to town council that we move forward with the, the new electric ready code and updating.
That was the other item that's on that.
And
yeah.
So we all need to look over that, and we need to come to the meeting ready to talk about, are we ready to recommend this code to the town
Yeah.
council? Because, if, I mean, Preston's kind of made the commitment that he would try to help us do this fall, and this was our #1 priority. And I don't think it moves forward until we make that recommendation.
Well, we have that set for the agenda. Talked with Kim Wheels and we'll have all that information. We should have that information. Yeah, well, either Kim or one of Eco Action.
Kim.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave, for really bringing that up strongly. Appreciate that.
Yeah, so
And tomorrow is actually the second of the 2 energy code meetings with the state. That's tomorrow from 9:30 to 11:30.
and it should be wrapped up, right?
And that will have, and I sent that video out to
Uh-huh.
everybody, along, and then all the slides and all the summaries are there. So I think I'm gonna use Dana's language. Everybody in this group is required to read through those
Mhm.
going into that meeting.
Yeah.
Either watching the video or going through all the slides with the summations, because unless we all know that stuff pretty solidly,
We're not gonna get through that
can't-
meeting. Yeah.
You can't give me marching orders to go to the council without some specifics.
Great.
Okay, so that's really our next meeting, is that and the recommendation for the cap. So that's a full meeting.
Could I make
So,
a
I mean,
request that our agendas include our link to the website, so that's front and center every time, so it's something we just get used to having a click to go on to.
sure, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, good idea,
Thanks.
Angela. And also, we now, our front door is now on the town of Ridgway webpage. So if you go to the
Awesome.
sustainability webpage, Deb has created that link. And she's also created a QRS code, and JT is in the process of building a handout that we're gonna hand out tomorrow night, that people can just use their phone and scan this QRS code and takes them directly to. the
Yeah.
You guys are happening.
So,
Right on.
Whoa.
yeah.
That's about as
Great.
That's
6th grade collage as it gets.
amazing.
Hey, it's,
I've got it.
Yeah, so yeah, we're working.
so,
Sorry, but you said that we're gonna actually be talking about the changes we want to see in the solar and energy ready code for the next one.
Yeah. And do
It's-
you recommend
well,
what's there?
we'll be reviewing the new energy code.
Okay.
And then, yeah, and in detail. So that's why it's imperative that we all read it and understand it before coming there, because it's gonna be. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
skimmed
yeah.
through it already and
It's
there's some
dense.
things
Yeah.
that are, I mean, there's probably things that we'll want to talk about and honestly, some of it's just meant for a larger
Yeah,
location, because like we
Yeah.
don't really allow for buildings greater than 10,000 square feet.
Right.
So there's all these like,
that are not gonna
That's-
apply to.
yeah, like
Yeah.
that's their limit of
Yeah,
stuff and.
yeah.
Well, we're capped at
So as you guys are
five,
going,
so.
as you guys are going through, the summations from the state energy board, look at those things that are specifically pertinent to Ridgway. And if you have questions,
Let's see if we can figure out something.
so that we have that ready. I've already highlighted a few that I know will be, sensitive discussions when it comes time to implementation.
I'll just throw this out there. I mean, really, if this month for a workshop for this SAB conference is not gonna work for this month, I mean, we'll have to fit it in for next month. I mean, it's just what we'll have to do.
It's-
So, we'll make it work if you guys want to, whatever you want to do. I'm just here to make it happen.
And I'd say we will do
Do a
is the way to go.
Can you do that?
I could do one, yes.
Okay,
Just don't apply all.
Our next meeting is the 5th of July.
Our next meeting is the 5th of July. Yep. That will be here before you know it.
Eh,
All right. So that actually gets us through item number 2.
Yep.
Did we want to jump into item number 3 and talk about the logo for a minute here? It is after 7 already.
I do have to leave soon.
Okay, we can,
Oh,
you want to table it for another time?
yeah, let's table it.
Let's table it for another time. Angela, are you good with that? Kenny, are you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, okay, so we'll move
Yeah,
that. to
I'm good with
another
that too.
meeting. Kind of- Okay, so we just need to approve the minutes now.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from the May 3rd, 2023 Sustainability Advisory Board meeting.
Second.
And you gotta do a roll.
Yep. All right, Angela,
Yes.
Kenny,
Yay.
Dana, Vicky, Dave,
Yes.
and Joyce.
Yes.
Okay,
And before I adjourn this meeting, I will say, I remind people, if you haven't seen it already, the whole Mountain Town 2030 program has been super helpful. Been
Mhm.
perfectly timely for my education and the creation of this group. And the conference is coming up. They're putting on a full conference in Vail, October 17th to 19th, and I am going to attend. So if you guys go on the Mountain Town 2030 site, all the information for the conference is starting to get rolled out.
Thank you.
Something
Yeah.
to be
I'm glad you're going to that. That's
to
great.
consider, and also that might be something to look at before our meeting about our sustainability conference. Because the agenda items on there match everything.
And
we need to be working on.
And just a note for next year, for this coming budget, if this is something, this is an annual event, if this is something that might want to have more than one participant, might want to put that in as a budgeted item for others to attend.
Super.
Because I think if they've got good information, it's really I'm quite impressed with that organization.
Subsidizing you, or are you going on your own?
Haven't navigated that one
Well,
yet. I
yeah.
just knew right away that I would.
Mhm.
And anything else from anybody on Zoom before we adjourn this meeting? No, with that, consider the Sustainability Advisory Board meeting for Wednesday, June 7th, 2023 adjourned.
7:07 p.m.
Bam.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Covered a lot. It's a good meeting.
Yeah.
I think I just want to say one thing. I'm thinking.
Hang on one second. Hang on one second.